Like I said many times before, and I'll say it again, that time I got reincarnated as a slime has got to be one of the top isekais with the best world building I have ever seen. Even the power rating system for the monsters, adventurers, and other entities of the series was done with such detail. So as promised, in today's video we'll be taking a look at the ranking system that is being used in the world of Tensura. As always, this video will contain spoilers, so feel free to click away if you don't want to be spoiled. Also, don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribing to the channel for more future content.
リザードマン、オーガラ、ジュラの大信任で知恵のある魔物たちが派遣を求めて動き出している。
First things first, the current ranking system was actually established by Yuki Kagurazaka after he founded the Free Guild, a replacement organization for the former Adventurers Association. And before the current ranking system was implemented, there was a much simplified version which mainly categorized the rank into 4 levels: Novice, Beginner, Intermediate, and Advanced. Of course, Yuki thought the old system was too inefficient and there wasn't really any clear distinction between the stronger from the strong, which caused many adventurers to be killed by monsters that were actually stronger than the rank suggested, so he changed it into the current one. With that, Yuki introduced an alphabet-based ranking system, replacing Novice with rank F, Beginner with rank E, and Intermediate with rank D. Those who were ranked as Advanced were split into more specific groups based on their strength, that being rank C, B, and A. And thanks to Yuki's new system, he managed to greatly reduce the number of deaths caused by adventurers mistaking the rank of a monster. Additionally, for adventurers to get their first rank or increase their existing rank, they will first need to take a test which is held at any free guild branches, and the test can be taken at any time. The test will always be supervised by A rank adventurers hired by the guild, and if one passes, they will become E rank or get promoted. Also, if they wanted to, they are allowed to subsequently challenge the rank D, C, or B test and above. However, if one fails the test, they have to earn 100 F points from F rank quests before being able to take the test again. This is likely to make sure candidates who failed get some training and experience to avoid unnecessary death in the future. Now, regarding the test itself, it's conducted within a 20-meter magic barrier, and the candidates must defeat the monster before them in order to pass the test. For the rank E test, candidates are needed to fight against a Hunter Hound. Rank D, they are required to defeat a Dark Goblin. Then rank C is against giant bats, and rank B they have to fight against a lesser demon, and normally this test is done with a team of adventurers. Now there is another classification for rank B adventurers, and that is the special B rank. It is reserved for those who have the strength of an A rank, but they either still lack the experience and skills to reach rank A, or they failed the test due to other reasons. A good example of a special B rank would be Jinrai, one of Masayuki Honjo's party members. As for special B rank tests and above, it can only be conducted at the headquarters of the Free Guild, and for any adventurers that manage to get rank A or above, they are often recognized as champions by most human countries, which was the case for Masayuki. Having said that, when it comes to the ranks of monsters though, the naming system is still used here, but the method of which they are measured becomes different. Adventurers are normally ranked based on their proficiency, while monsters are measured with the amount of magic skills they possess. However, this isn't always the case because monsters of the same rank can have massive differences in their power. Like with Charybdis, it's classified as a rank S monster in magic capacity, but in reality it was only a special A rank because its lack of intelligence makes it nothing more than a mad beast with no sense of rationale. I should also point out that this ranking system is still flawed simply because there are too many other factors that could lead to monsters being actually stronger than their rank suggests. For example, intelligent monsters like ogres or goblins can learn human arts or possess skills that can make them stronger in battle rather than relying on the amount of magic skills they have. Even for humans too, they can sometimes become sages, heroes, or even margins and make contracts with different spirits to become stronger than they actually are. And when we factor in the other worlders who also have their own advantages like skills or higher magical levels than the average human, the ranking can also be quite imprecise. That's why I think using the threat level designation is much better for distinguishing the strength of a monster, and it's quite suitable to use it for ranking humans beyond rank A as well. This was actually an additional designation created by the Free Guild to evaluate monsters based on their ability to threaten countries or the world rather than just their individual magical capacity. For the threat level, there are 4 different classifications, with each increasing in the danger value. The first one is for rank A monsters, or also known as the hazard class. Monsters of this category are able to cause widespread damages to either a single town or an area equivalent of that size. For example, when Rimuru first got reincarnated into the world as a slime before he was named by Valdora, he was already considered to be a hazard class threat. Then there's the special rank A monster, or referred to as the Calamity class. Monsters with this classification are considered to be a threat to any country's government, and they have the potential to cause damage to a medium-sized country. Again, Rimuru is a good example of a Calamity class monster because this was his threat level after he had consumed Ifrit and the Orc Disaster. Now, when we get to rank S, or the classification of Disaster class, things get a bit vague for how powerful an individual actually is. But the general explanation is that the Disaster class is normally used to refer to Demon Lords, and they are considered beings that can completely wipe out any small nations, while larger ones would need to use everything they have just to handle them. And here is where it gets confusing because the overall power level of individuals within the Disaster class varies a lot. At the lower end of the spectrum, we have individuals who are Demon Lord seeds like Frey, Carrion and Clayman being called Disaster class, whereas at the high end we have the true Demon Lords like Luminous Valentine or Rimuru Tempest. However, I would say this can be attributed to the humans simply not being able to tell the difference between a Demon Lord seed and a true Demon Lord, because a seed by itself is not enough to qualify for the Disaster class. And the only reason Carrion, Frey and Clayman were classified as Disaster class was simply because any individuals that have been accepted into the Demon Lord Council will be immediately recognized as that threat level regardless if they actually have that level of power. A few example of characters that are considered to be Disaster class are most of the subordinates of Rimuru after he had evolved into a true Demon Lord, while for the human side there's Hinata Sakaguchi and Yuki Kagurazaka, but like I said, their power level will definitely differ. Finally, the last threat level classification is known as the Special S rank, or the Catastrophe class. As the name suggests, individuals of this class has the ability to cause literal catastrophes across the world, and humans would have to gather a large international force just to give them a chance at survival. At least that's how the Free Guild interprets it, but we have to remember that this is a ranking system created by the guild, so they likely did not have a clear understanding on the potential threat of an individual with this classification, so they just created the classification to console themselves, and later Rimuru even changed the idea of the class. Because if an individual is really classified as a catastrophe class and they have the power to wipe out an entire nation, no humans would be powerful enough to stop it. And just to give you an idea of how powerful a true catastrophe class is, when Milim first awakened into a true Demon Lord, she had fought against the first Demon Lord Guy Crimson, and after they battled for 7 days and 7 nights, that battle had turned the fertile lands of the west into a barren wasteland. Although Milim was considered to be a catastrophe class, the only natural catastrophe class beings are the true dragons and Guy Crimson. But in the light novel, Rimuru Tempest also reached the level of a catastrophe class after he had consumed 2 of the true dragons and became an ultimate slime. That said, the Free Guild's description of the class doesn't really do it justice, and if I'm being honest, if they wanted to stop a catastrophe class incident, they would need to bring in another one, or at the very least a demigod to fight against it. And here's a fun fact, because the threat levels are written in the Western nation's perspective, it doesn't apply to the Eastern Empire as they have multiple disaster class humans, so they can easily handle disaster level threats. But anyways, I also need to at least mention that in volume 16 of the light novel, the author had actually introduced a numerical system to measure each of the different ranks called the existence value, and I'll be referring to them as EVs. So going in order, EVs of less than 1000 is rank E, rank D ranges from 1000 to 3000, rank C ranges from 3000 to 6000, rank B ranges from 6000 to 8000, special rank B ranges from 8000 to 9000, and we have rank A-, which ranges from 9000 to 8000. But after rank A-, the normal rank A, or also known as the hazard class, are individuals with EVs that are more than 10,000, and to go from hazard to the special A or calamity class, there's a huge gap the individual has to pass, and that is to reach EVs of more than 100,000. Rimuru also mentioned that an individual with a Demon Lord seed should have a minimum EV of 200,000, and that the ex-Demon Lords Karen and Frey had EVs of around 400,000. So it means those who possesses an EV of 400,000 or more can be classified as the disaster class or the S rank. As a frame of reference, the Awakened Claimant during Walpurgis had an EV ranging from 700 to 800,000, so this roughly means that those with EVs of more than 800,000 can be considered Special S rank. But in this case, Special S rank isn't referring to the Catastrophe class anymore according to Benimaru. Also, with the introduction of EVs, there's a new classification for those whose existence was more than a million. They are known as the Super Awakened or the Million class. That's basically all the information on the existence value, and just a reminder that these numbers are simply a reference point because EVs don't determine their true strength and it's more like an estimate of their potential strength. So yeah, that's roughly what the entire ranking system of Tensura looks like, and before I end the video, I'll go over the existence value for a few of the characters. Of course, the first one has to be Benimaru, and he has an EV of 8,681,123, and he is able to add another 2,280,000 EV if he has his sword. Next is our Whip Dragon Valdora with a whopping amount of 88,126,579 EV. Another fun one is Diablo. His EV is literally 6,666,666, which is just the devil's number. The last one we have is Xion, and she has an EV of 4,229,180, but she can add another 1,080,000 if she has her Hercules Edge. Overall, that's it. I can't really go over every character's EV, but I'll leave a link down below if anyone wants to see the EVs for themselves.
こうして俺は8人の魔王オクタグラムの一人となった。
So what are your thoughts on the ranking system of that time I got reincarnated as a slime? Do you like how the author did it? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and also suggest any topics you'd like to see. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell to stay up to date with my content. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.